The shredded remains of my American flag were stuffed in the dumpster like garbage. Red stripes soaked in coffee grounds and white stars stained with motor oil. I stood there in my bathrobe at 6 a.m., staring at what some coward had done in the darkness. 43 years, I'd raised that flag every morning outside my apartment in Riverside, California. 43 years of ritual, of respect, of remembering the boys who never made it home from Da Nang. The note was still taped to my door, written in angry block letters. You fought for nothing. Your war was a lie. Stop poisoning the neighborhood with your nationalist bullshit. My hands shook as I pulled the torn fabric from the trash. Not from fear. I'd stopped being afraid of punks long ago. The trembling came from something deeper, a rage that started in my chest and spread through my 72-year-old bones like wildfire. Mr. Chun? I turned to find Marcus Williams, the kid from 2B, standing behind me in his McDonald's uniform. 19, maybe 20, with that cautious look young people get around veterans. Like we might explode without warning. Someone messed with your flag, he said quietly. Yeah, I held up the ruined cloth. Someone did. That's fucked up, man. Sorry, that's messed up. I'd been watching Marcus for 2 years, ever since he moved in with his grandmother after his parents died in a car wreck. Good kid, worked double shifts to help with rent, never caused trouble. But something about him reminded me of Tommy Rodriguez, the 18-year-old Marine who died in my arms outside Hugh City in '68. You heading to work? I asked. Yeah, but I can stay if you need help cleaning up or whatever. Thanks, son. Got it. Marcus hesitated at the stairs. Mr. Chun, you gonna put up another flag? I looked at the empty pole bracket on my door, the one I'd installed myself in 1980 when I first moved to this complex. Course I am. Takes more than some keyboard warrior to make me quit. That afternoon, I drove to the Army surplus store on Magnolia Avenue. Frank Torres, the owner, was a Desert Storm vet who knew my story. He sold me a new flag, same as always cotton, made in America, none of that cheap polyester garbage. Third one this month, Frank said, wrapping it in brown paper. Someone's been targeting the whole neighborhood. What do you mean? Mrs. Patterson on Elm Street, her flag got burned. Bill Kowalski over on Oak, his got spray painted. Always the same Mo nighttime, no witnesses, nasty notes about fascists and baby killers. My jaw tightened. Police doing anything? What can they do? No cameras, no witnesses. Just some punks with too much time and not enough respect. I drove home through the late afternoon heat, windows down, letting the California sun bake the anger out of my system. The apartment complex looked the same as always cracked concrete, rusted mailboxes, the perpetual smell of someone's dinner cooking. Home to immigrants, retirees, single mothers, kids like Marcus working their way through community college. At 6 p.m. sharp, I raised the new flag. A few neighbors watched from their windows, but nobody came out. Nobody said anything. That was the way it worked in places like this. You minded your own business, kept your head down, pretended not to see the bad things. I understood. Most of these people had their own problems, but understanding didn't make it hurt less. That night, I sat by my window with a cup of coffee and my grandfather's .45 waiting. The gun wasn't loaded. I wasn't planning to shoot anyone. But the weight of it in my lap felt reassuring, like holding on to a piece of my father's memory. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps on the stairs, whispered voices, the rustle of fabric. I crept to the peephole and saw them 3 figures in dark hoodies, faces hidden. One carried a can of spray paint. Another held what looked like a knife. My finger found the trigger guard. Maybe the gun should be loaded after all. The first kid couldn't have been older than 16 reached for my flag. That's when I opened the door. Evening, gentlemen. They froze like deer in headlights. The one with the spray paint dropped it, a clatter echoing through the courtyard. The knife kid took a step back. "Something I can help you with?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Just walk away, old man," the leader said. He was older than the others, maybe early 20s, with a kind of privileged accent that screamed suburban upbringing. "This doesn't concern you." "Funny thing about that flag," I said, stepping fully into the doorway. "It's attached to my door, so it concerns me quite a bit." The knife kid's hand tightened on his weapon. "You don't understand, man. You're part of the problem. You and your generation, you fucked up everything. The wars, the environment, the economy." "Kid," I interrupted, "you don't know the first thing about my generation. I know you went to Vietnam and murdered innocent people. I know you came back and pretended to be heroes while the country went to shit." The familiar words hit like shrapnel. I'd heard them before, in protests and coffee shops, and anonymous letters, but hearing them from a child young enough to be my grandson cut deeper than expected. "You know what I know?" I said, my voice dropping to a whisper. "I know you're about to make a very stupid mistake." The leader laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "What are you going to do, Grandpa? Call the cops? Beat us up with your walking stick?" That's when I noticed the phone. The third kid, the quiet one, was recording everything. The red light blinked in the darkness like a tiny eye. "This is going on YouTube," the cameraman said. "Everyone's going to see what happens when we confront these fascist boomers." "You want to confront me?" I asked. "Fine. But first, let me tell you about Vietnam." I stepped closer, and they stepped back. The knife kid's hand shook. "I was 19 when they shipped me to Southeast Asia. Scared kid from Oakland, never been further from home than Sacramento. You know what I found over there? Boys just like you, convinced they were fighting for something important." "Yeah," the leader sneered. "Imperialism, capitalism, the military-industrial complex." "No," I said quietly. "Each other? That's what we fought for. Not politics or ideology or any of that bullshit. We fought to keep our buddies alive." The knife caught the streetlight as its owner shifted nervously. "You're lying. The war was about a lot of things." I cut him off. "But for us, the guys in the mud, it was about survival. About making sure the kid next to you got to see home again." I pulled out my phone, showed them a photo I'd carried for 50 years. 3 Marines in combat gear, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. Tommy Rodriguez in the middle, me on the right, and Danny Walsh on the left. "That's Tommy," I said, pointing to the kid in the center. 18 years old, from East LA, wanted to be a teacher when he got back. "And that's Danny, 19, from some farm town in Iowa. Sweet kid, sent half his pay home to his mom." The leader glanced at the photo, then away. "So what?" "So Tommy stepped on a landmine outside Hughes City on March 15th, 1968. Died in my arms, calling for his mother. Danny took sniper fire 2 weeks later. Bled out in a rice paddy while I tried to plug the holes in his chest." The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Even the cameraman had lowered his phone. "You want to know what I fought for?" I continued. "I fought so kids like you could stand here tonight and call me a fascist. I fought so you could burn flags and make YouTube videos and believe whatever political bullshit makes you feel important." But the leader started, but nothing. "You think I'm proud of that war? You think any of us were proud? We came home to people spitting on us, calling us baby killers, throwing paint on our uniforms. We didn't fight for gratitude or parades or respect. We fought because our country asked us to, and then we lived with the consequences." I stepped closer, and this time they didn't back away. "You want to protest? Fine. You want to burn flags? It's your right. But don't you dare tell me I fought for nothing. I fought for you. All of you. Even the ones who hate me for it. The knife. Kid's weapon clattered to the concrete. I didn't know. Course you didn't. Nobody teaches you about the real war. Just the politics and the protests and the pretty speeches. Nobody talks about the 19-year-old Marines who died, so you could have this conversation. The leader's hood had fallen back, revealing a face younger than I'd expected. College kid, probably, with the soft features of someone who'd never known real hardship. But the flag, he said weakly, it's a symbol of oppression. To you, maybe. To me, it's a symbol of Tommy Rodriguez and Danny Walsh and all the boys who never made it home. It's a symbol of the promise I made to carry their memory. I pointed to the fresh flag hanging from my door. Every morning for 43 years, I've raised that flag. Not for politics or nationalism or any of that crap. For them. For the kids. Who died believing they were protecting something worth protecting. But what about all the bad things America has done? The cameraman asked. The wars, the interventions, You think I don't know about the bad things? You think I haven't? Spent 50 years wondering if what we did over there was right? I've got blood on my hands, kid. I've done things I can't undo, seen things I can't unsee. But that flag doesn't represent perfection. It represents the possibility of being better. A door opened across the courtyard. Marcus Williams stepped out, still in his McDonald's uniform, carrying a baseball bat. Everything okay, Mr. Chun? He called. Just having a conversation with some young patriots, I replied. Marcus walked over, the bat casual in his grip, but ready for action. These the guys who've been messing with everyone's flags? The three kids exchanged glances. The leader nodded slowly. Why? Marcus asked. What's the point? We're making a statement, the leader said, but his voice lacked conviction now. About American imperialism and... Nah, Marcus interrupted. You're just bullies. You're picking on old people because you're too scared to confront real problems. You don't understand, the knife kid protested. We're activists. We're trying to change things by terrorizing veterans. Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. By destroying property? By making people afraid in their own homes? I watched the exchange with growing surprise. Marcus had never struck me as political, never shown interest in flags or wars or anything beyond his next paycheck. But there was steel in his voice now, a hardness I hadn't seen before. Mr. Chun's a good man, Marcus continued. He helped me fix my car when I couldn't afford a mechanic. He taught me to shoot a bow when I was having trouble with bullies at school. He's never asked for anything in return. The cameraman was filming again, but now the red light felt different. Less threatening, more documentary. You taught him archery? The leader asked me. Kid needed something to build confidence. Archery's good for that. Teaches patience, focus, discipline. But you're a veteran, the knife kid said. Don't you have PTSD? Aren't you dangerous? The question caught me off guard. Dangerous? To who? I don't know. To people who disagree with you? I thought about the loaded .45 sitting on my kitchen table, about the nights I'd lain awake planning scenarios, about the anger that sometimes felt like it might consume me whole. Maybe, I said honestly, but not in the way you think. Marcus set down his bat. You want to know what's dangerous? Ignorance. Judging people without knowing their story. That's what's dangerous. We know his story, the leader said. Vietnam. Veteran, probably has PTSD, probably votes Republican, probably nothing, I interrupted. You don't know shit about my story. I pulled out my phone again, scrolled to a different photo. This one showed a group of Vietnamese children, maybe 8 or 9 years old, standing in front of a small schoolhouse. That's the Nguyen family, I said. I've been sending them money for 20 years, helping pay for their kids' education, their medical bills, whatever they need. The three kids stared at the photo. After the war, I couldn't let go. Couldn't stop thinking about all the damage we'd done. So I found a way to help rebuild. It's not much, but it's something. You send money to Vietnam? The cameraman asked. Every month. To 3 families I met during the war. Good people who got caught in the middle of something bigger than all of us. The leader's face had gone pale. But ... But you're supposed to. Be the enemy. You're supposed to be a racist warmonger who... Who what? Who sends his social security checks to Vietnamese orphans? Who volunteers at the VA hospital? Who teaches neighborhood kids life skills because their parents are too busy working 3 jobs to be home? Marcus nodded. He's been helping people. In this complex for years. Mrs. Rodriguez in 3C, he drives her to doctor appointments. The Johnson family, he babysits their kids when they can't afford daycare. He's like the neighborhood grandfather. Then why didn't anyone defend him? The Knife Kid asked. When we were targeting his flag, where was everyone? People are scared, Marcus said simply. They've got their own problems. But that doesn't make it right. A new sound drifted across the courtyard, the creak of opening doors. I turned, too. See Mrs. Rodriguez stepping onto her balcony, then Mr. Johnson from the first floor. The Patel family from 4A. One by one, my neighbors emerged from their apartments, drawn by the voices. Everything okay, Mr. Chun? Mrs. Rodriguez called in her heavily accented English. Just fine, Maria. Go back to bed. But she didn't go back to bed. None of them did. They stood there in their pajamas and bathrobes, a silent army of working class. Americans who'd finally had enough. These the kids been causing trouble? Mr. Johnson asked. We're not causing trouble, the leader protested. We're making a political statement. You're scaring children, Mrs. Patel said firmly. My daughter. She's afraid to play outside because of you. The 3 kids looked around at the growing crowd, at the faces of people they'd been terrorizing for weeks. The bravado began to crack. We didn't mean to scare anyone, the cameraman said quietly. We just wanted to make a point about American foreign policy. You want to make a point? Mrs. Rodriguez stepped forward. You make a point by voting, by volunteering, by helping your community, not by destroying things. She's right, said a new voice. I turned to see Frank Torres, the surplus store owner, climbing the stairs with 2 other men I didn't recognize. Been tracking these punks for weeks. They hit 5 different neighborhoods, always the same pattern. Who are you? The leader demanded. Frank Torres, Army veteran. And these are my friends Mike Sullivan, Marines, and Dave Kim, Navy. We've been coordinating with the police, setting up surveillance. One of the men held up a small camera. We got everything on tape. The vandalism, the threats, the weapon. More than enough for criminal charges. The Knife Kid dropped his weapon completely. We're screwed. Not necessarily, I said, surprising everyone, including myself. Depends on what you do next. All eyes turned to me. The leader's face showed confusion, maybe hope. You want to make a statement about American foreign policy? Fine, but do it right. Learn the history, understand the complexity, engage with people who disagree with you. Don't just destroy things and call it activism. What are you saying? The cameraman asked. I'm saying I'll make you a deal. You want to know about Vietnam? About war, about America, about what it means to serve? Come to my apartment tomorrow. Night, all 3 of you. I'll tell you everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll show you letters from the families I help in Vietnam. I'll explain why I still believe in this country despite everything. The 3 kids exchanged glances. The leader nodded slowly. And in return, I continued, you helped me with something. What? There's a veterans outreach program at the VA hospital. They need volunteers to help with PTSD counseling, job training, housing assistance. You want to change the world? Start there. Marcus stepped forward. I'll do it too. The volunteer thing. Me too, said Mrs. Rodriguez. I can help with translation services. And me, added Mr. Johnson. I'm good with computers. Can help with job applications. I looked around at my neighbors, these people I'd lived beside for decades without. Really knowing. They were stepping forward, one by one, offering to help in ways I'd never imagined. So what's it going to be? I asked the three kids, you want to keep playing Vandal, or you want to do something that actually matters? The leader looked at his companions, then at the growing crowd of neighbors, then at the flag hanging from my door. We'll come tomorrow night, he said finally. But I have questions. Hard questions about American foreign policy, about military interventions, about... Good, I interrupted. Bring your questions. Bring your anger. Bring your passion. But also bring your willingness to listen and learn. Frank Torres put away his camera. We'll hold off on the criminal charges for now. But any more vandalism, any more threats, and we go straight to the police. The three kids nodded, looking younger than they had an hour ago. One more thing, I said. Tomorrow night, you're going to help me raise a new flag, a bigger one. And you're going to learn the proper way to fold it, the proper way to display it, the proper way to honor what it represents. I don't know if I can do that, the leader said. I don't know if I believe in what the flag stands for. Asterisk, that's okay, I replied. You don't have to believe in it. You just have to respect what it means to other people. That's what democracy is, disagreeing without destroying. As the crowd began to disperse, Marcus lingered behind. Mr. Chun, thanks for not having them arrested. Everyone deserves a second chance, son. Even angry kids who think they know everything. Is that what you're going to tell them tomorrow? About second chances? I looked at my flag, still flying despite everything, still catching the breeze despite the late hour. I'm going to tell them about Tommy Rodriguez and Danny Walsh, about the children in Vietnam who call me Uncle Sam in their letters, about the promise I made to carry their memory. And then I'm going to teach them that the highest form of patriotism isn't blind loyalty. It's the courage to demand your country be better while never giving up on what it could become. Marcus nodded. That sounds like something my dad would have said. Your dad was a smart man. Yeah, he was. The next morning, I woke to find something I'd never seen before. Every apartment in the complex had a small American flag hanging from its door or window. Mrs. Rodriguez had pinned one to her children's bedroom window. The Patel family had one draped over their balcony railing. Even the college kids in 1A had stuck a tiny flag in their potted plant dot at the bottom of the stairs. I found a note. Mr. Chun, thank you for showing us what real patriotism looks like. Your neighbors. But it was the last line that made my eyes water. We're proud to live in your America. That evening, all three kids showed up at my door. The leader had traded his hoodie for a button-down shirt. The knife kid carried a notebook. The cameraman had brought an actual camera, not just his phone. We have questions, the leader said. I have stories, I replied, and we have all night. As they settled into my living room, surrounding the coffee table covered with old photographs and faded letters, I realized something I'd never understood before. The flag outside my door wasn't just a symbol of the past, it was a promise for the future. A promise that every generation would find its own way to serve, to sacrifice, to build something better than what came before God. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to be there when the next generation discovers what that promise really means. The conversation lasted until dawn. By the time the sun rose, Three angry vandals had become three thoughtful young adults ready to change the world, not by tearing things down, but by building them up. And hanging from my door, as it had for 43 years, the flag still flew. But now it wasn't just my flag. It was our flag, all of ours. And that made all the difference in the world.